Hello everyone, and welcome to Noodle Journey, your destination for detailed and informative reviews of the instant noodle universe. And today I'm reviewing an official hack that Nongshim's own website recommends. What do you get when you combine Wang and Shin ramen? You get Shin Wang. Before we get started, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this recipe review. Now, of course, Nongshim Shin Ramen was my very first review on this channel. It's one of the things that contributed to me becoming obsessed with instant noodles. And so I almost always have Shin, or at least something similar to Shin, on hand, like Paldo Namja or Han Kitchen Pocha, both excellent alternatives. I also just reviewed Nongshim's Jawang flavor on its own. Check out that review if you haven't yet. I thoroughly enjoyed this. It's a really great black bean sauce product with the addition of oyster sauce, some awesome ridge noodles, and a really great flake pouch. And I noticed in my pre-review research that on Nongshim's website, they have a pretty well-hidden recipe where they show you how to combine Jawang and Shin Ramen into what they call Shin Jawang, which is basically a spicy Chinese-style black bean flavor. And I poked around the internet, and it looks like no one has really reviewed or demonstrated this combination in a video capacity at all. So here I am. Now you may be thinking, if you're already familiar with chapagori, which is the famous combination of Nongshim's black bean chapaghetti and seafood broth neyogori, how is this any different? Well, there's no seafood flavor in this, and this uses oyster sauce, which is pretty mild as far as seafood flavors go. So I'm expecting it to be a similar concept, different flavor notes, maybe even a different sauce texture depending on how this recipe goes. So without further ado, I'm going to follow the recipe on Nongshim's website, which I will link to in the video description, and you can follow along with me on the stovetop. Alright, so we're going to start with some boiling water, and Nongshim's recipe doesn't specify how much, it just says you need enough to cover both packs of noodles. And so I opted for about 4 cups of water, which is roughly 1,000 milliliters. We're going to drain most of this by the end, so it doesn't really matter how much you have in here as long as it can cover both noodle blocks. So the first thing I'm going to do is add the Jawang noodles. And I apologize, but these got a little bit crushed at some point. So yeah, there's some fragments in there. These are going to cook for 30 seconds. And the reason these are cooking for 30 seconds before the Shin noodles go in is because they need a little bit longer due to their thickness. All right, 30 seconds up, I'm going to add the Shin noodles now. And the recipe also doesn't tell you when you're supposed to add the flakes or if you're supposed to add the flakes, but the flakes in the Jawang are really good, and I'm not going to waste the Shin flakes, so we're going to put both of those in here. And this is all going to cook together for 4.5 minutes. I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to do a shameless plug for Ramen Bay, which is one of my favorite products. You could very easily add a couple scoops of any one of their mixes and it would go pretty well with this. Alright, our cook time is almost done. We're supposed to reserve 100 milliliters of this water to make up the sauce, gravy, soup, whatever. And so I'm just going to siphon that off right now. Well, folks, nobody's going to believe me, but I tried to eyeball 100 milliliters and I got it perfect on the first try. Check that out. Good stuff. One of the strange skills you develop running a YouTube channel like this. Okay, the noodles are all done. I'm going to drain these and transfer them back to the pot. And let's just go combine the rest of this in our serving bowl so that you can see everything come together. Okay, as you can see, this is a hefty amount of noodles. This is 2 servings for sure, maybe even more, depending on how you and your loved ones eat. So no judgment if you want to finish this whole bowl yourself, but you do have enough here for leftovers. So what the recipe says to do is add the entirety of the Jawang sauce, which is to say powder. Then you're going to add half of the Shin soup base, Any more than that and you're going to risk an insane amount of sodium. All right, that's about half. We're going to add the reserved 100 milliliters of water, and I really hope this is enough to dissolve all this, but here we go. We're going to mix this very, very well to create our sauce. And the last step is to top it with the liquid pouch from Wang. And give it one final mixture. All right, and here we go. This is what Nongshim's Shin Wang looks like. It's a huge bowl of noodles. It's a combination of the Shin noodles and the ridged Wang noodles. Mixing the two powders together with 100 milliliters of water created a sauce, not a gravy. And the sauce is a lot thinner than the Wang sauce by itself that I reviewed the other day, which is fine. I wasn't expecting this to be like super thick because of the way it comes together. As far as aromas go, this smells pretty much just like Wang. The aromas from the Shin pouch are not really coming through here, which is not surprising. I expected Wang to be the dominant flavor. So let's give this a taste and see how it goes. And I'm just going to make sure that I get a combination of noodles in this bite. All right, that's pretty cool. Let's talk about the noodles real quick. Both sets of noodles are already great. When you combine them, you get an interesting textural contrast between the two. Like I was able to kind of pick out the ridged noodle from the regular Shin noodle. I think those Wang ridged noodles are the more important element here because they're clinging to the sauce a little bit better than the plain Shin noodles. You can see the difference in color right there. And so, in both of my original reviews, I gave the Shin noodles an 8 out of 10 and the Wang noodles a 10 out of 10. So split the difference for this recipe and we'll call the total noodle score a 9 out of 10. Now the spice level here is not really crazy. The Wang sauce already has that very, very slight, mild, almost non-existent hit of chili pepper. And you're only using half of the Shin packet. So it's not as spicy as it would be if you would use the whole thing. Way back when I gave Shin a 6 out of 10 for spiciness, and Wang was a 1 out of 10, a very cautious 1 out of 10 because I didn't think it was spicy at all. There's barely any chili flavor in it. So it kind of makes sense then that these two combined, the score is kind of in the middle of those. It approaches what I would call a slightly medium spice level, but it isn't like a butthole burning level. And if you especially consider Shin to be a butthole burning level, this is milder than that. So let's call it a 4 out of 10 on the spice scale. And so now let's talk about the overall flavor and score for this dish. Just like the hint I got when I was smelling this, the Shin flavors are mostly gone here. What you're left with is the delicious black bean, beef, oyster sauce flavor of the Wang with extra salt and spice from Shin. That Shin packet is only giving my taste buds salt and spice. I don't really taste anything else. This is really just a saltier, spicier version of Wang, and I think that's great. I think Wang works well with a little bit of spice. I think the salt enhances the flavors just a little bit. I think if you're willing to put these two packs of noodles together for a special, super indulgent, very big meal of noodles, I think you're gonna like it. I think if you like both of them on their own, you're gonna like this one just as much, if not better. Now, how does it compare to chapagori? Pretty different. So one of the things about chapagori is you get the shrimp flavor out of the neogori, enhancing the chapaghetti black bean sauce. And there's really no detectable shrimp flavor in here. This is oyster sauce flavored and no other seafood flavor to speak of. This is a far beefier result than you would get with chapagori. I think it's also a little more umami forward because of what the Shin packet did, and because the Wang formula is already more umami rich than chapaghetti is. So I think I prefer this recipe a little bit compared to chapagori. I like chapagori. I buy the angry chapagori cups every once in a while, but I think this is a more interesting flavor. Came together really nicely. Also, the flakes in this are better than in chapagori. You got these big onion bits, the little imitation beef chunks from the Wang flake pouch. There's some mushrooms hiding in here from the Shin pouch. So if I'm assigning an overall score to this, I think it's a great balance of flavors. I like what the spice does to the Wang, and I think Nongshim was really smart to suggest combining these two products together because this is awesome. I'm gonna give this recipe hack a 10 out of 10. I love this. So all in all, I have to say, I wasn't sure how well this recipe would work, but as it turns out, pretty damn good. The Shin powder isn't overpowering the awesome flavor of the Wang sauce, but it's just adding that additional little layer of salt and chili flavor. Speaking of salt, I think it's worth repeating. Combining these 2 packets of ramen is obviously a sodium bomb on top of being a double serving of noodles, so for the sake of your health, share this with somebody or only make this an occasional junk food treat rather than a regular meal. If you're a fan of the original products and you want to try this, I think you'll be really happy with the results, especially if you're already a Chapagori fan. This is a new spin on an old favorite. That's all for this hack video. I really don't get the time to do these recipe videos as often as I want to, but this was fun and maybe I'll have time to do some more in the future. This was a little bit of a quick one, so it's a little easier. If there's anything you'd like to see, let me know in the comments, and especially let me know if you try this and how you liked it. I'll be back with more noodle reviews next time, so please join me here again on Noodle Journey.